Okay, then we start the session. Arora sir, all good. We start the session.
Okay, we'll start.
Okay, great. So, hello everyone, and nice meeting you again after a fortnight. And thank you for joining in today. And same as last time, we are looking forward for the interactive session. And I was thinking that we'll have you can unmute and ask the questions also, but there is some issue with the speaker's mic. So we can put the questions on the chat, and sir will go through the questions at the logical end and share his experience with us. So today we have a special guest, Dr. Rajendra Arora. He is a finance expert and a retired professor at the prestigious university. Dr. Arora has spent lots of time training and researching in the field of finance, focusing on things like corporate finance, investment analysis, merger acquisitions, and strategic financial. He has around 38 years of experience, with 7 years in corporate and 20 years working in management. During his career, he also has provided training to companies like DHL, Hero Honda, Think Logistic, Global Telecom Limited, and various government organizations in India. Along with that, he has also conducted 35 training sessions for ICAI. He is also an author and has written various books on financial management, merger and acquisition, strategic financial management, investment banking. In addition, he has published 64 research papers that have been published in some of the best financial journals. He has been a keynote speaker to various seminars and conferences. He has also been awarded two prestigious honors for his contribution to management education. First is the Order of Merit from the Indian Council Management Executives, and the other one is Siksha Bharati Puruskar from All India Achievers Foundation. So thank you, sir, for accepting our invite, and we are looking forward for the interactive session. So, sir, before I hand over the dais to you, there is a question for all the participants. It's there in the chat. Please know the question says, okay, 1 minute. Question talks about what are the key financial matrices you think are the best, are the critical for assessing the health of the organization. I'm putting the question on the chat and we'll take it forward from there. So 30 seconds for your response and we'll then proceed. No response. We are waiting for some responses. Yeah.
Can we start?
So there is a question on the chat window. Okay. Rajen sir, you can start now.
Yeah.
And sir, there are answers. There is a question on the chat window, and we have few responses also. Please have a look.
Yeah, you can. I will share the PPT also once
Okay.
the session is over,
Okay.
because the PPT does not have much in it. It's only basic information that is there in the PPT.
No, sir. What I was saying, there is a question on the chat, and we have few responses. Please have a look, and then you can proceed.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when we talk of a company, at the back of our mind is our intention to make profits. That is the core of all businesses, all companies. Now, does every company generate profit? When we ask this question, the answer is obviously no, because all companies do not make profit. This is because some companies are financially very healthy and they make profit. There are others who are not financially so healthy and therefore fail to make profit. So, therefore, when we are talking of the financial health of a company, we are basically trying to see how is the balance sheet of the company. The balance sheet, we can say, is a financial statement of a company that shows the financial health of the company. When we look at the balance sheet, we can understand the company is financially very healthy. And if the company is financially very healthy, then we can be very sure that the company's balance sheet is good. Now, basically, what do we understand from a balance sheet? When we look at the balance sheet of a company, what we are trying to understand is, does the company has enough equity? Because this can be a big problem for the company may not have adequate equity, and because the company does not have adequate equity, it is not able to make profit. So therefore the company is not able to make profit. From the balance sheet you can also make out whether the company has quite a lot of debt. Debt is the money that the company has borrowed from various lenders, and when the debt of the company is very high, obviously the company will be not able to earn profit, not able to save profit, because a lot of the profit goes in meeting the cost of the debt. So that is another issue. So equity, debt, and then comes cash flow. Companies can be making profit, but they may not be having cash in the business. Now that statement sounds a very vague statement for many of us, because you're making profit but there is no cash in the business. The company is not able to generate enough cash. All these factors put together impact the financial health of a company. So the financial health of the company basically depends on equity, the debt of the company, the cash flow that the company is able to generate, and what type of products the company is manufacturing.
Sir,
If the
excuse me,
company
sir.
is not manufacturing,
Sir, PPT is not moving. Okay, I'll put it on the chat. Sir, PPT is not moving.
yeah, PPT is moving now. From
No,
my end,
sir.
it is moving.
No, sir. It's freezed.
I'll just stop the PPT and then start again. Is it okay now?
Yes, sir. Moving. And sir, full screen, please. No, again.
So what we will do is, since we have understood the fact that there are three elements, one is the equity of the company, the other is the borrowings of the company, which is the debt of the company, and the third one is how much cash the company is able to generate. These three factors will impact the overall balance sheet of the company. And if these three factors are under control, then there is absolutely no problem. We can say the company can and can generate a lot of returns from those decisions. So we are just trying to understand how we go about with these factors. Now let us understand each of the factor individually.
I think again.
We'll first start with cash flow, because according to me, cash flow is probably the most important element for a company. There are a lot of companies today which are making profits, but they are not having adequate cash flow. I can give you the example of a company by the name Vedanta. It is generating profit, but it is not having enough cash flow. Now, what happens when the company does not have adequate cash flow? The company will not be able to reinvest money. The company will not be able to expand its operations. And when the company is not able to expand its operations, obviously it may lose out on profitable business opportunities because it is not able to reinvest the money profitably. So you can say the company is not showing that its operations are sustainable. The company has everything, but it is not able to sustain its operations. And the balance sheet of the company does not show very healthy trend. When we are talking of cash flow, we are talking of earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, and amortization, what we call as EBITDA, EBITDA. This is what is earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, and amortization. This should be very, very clear, and it should be reflective of the performance of the company. If it is not reflective of the performance of the company will have
Rajan sir,
difficulty in
Rajan sir,
generating adequate cash. Then we have
Rajan sir,
earnings.
your slide is not
Earnings is
moving.
something, earnings is something that we are able to generate after paying all the expenses of the business. So whatever expenses we have in the business,
Rajan sir,
whatever
your slide is
excess,
again stuck.
whatever excess revenue is left with us after paying all the expenses of the business, so after paying all the expenses, is the problem with the screen continuing? So we were talking of earnings. When we talk of earnings, I was saying the company is generating some revenue. From the revenue, if the company is able to pay all its expenses, and even after paying all its expenses, it is still able to save some revenue, that is called the earnings of the company. And it's very important for a business to have earnings, because earnings help the business reinvest the money into the business. And reinvesting the money is very important because it clearly indicates that the company is in a financially good position. If the earnings are not adequate, it would mean a part of the expenses would remain unpaid, and the company will not be able to reinvest the savings because there are no savings in the company. That is what we term in finance as red flag. It's a red flag indicating that the company is not doing well and the company is not able to save its income. So therefore the company's earnings are not adequate. The result of all this is if the earnings are not adequate, the EPS of the company would be low. EPS is the profit of the company which the company shares with the shareholders. So whatever dividend the company pays, you have to understand different terms. EPS is the earning per share which is paid by the company to the shareholders. And this earnings of the company are paid in the form of dividend. If the company's earning per share are not, if the company is not showing earning per share, it means the company is not sharing any earnings with the shareholders. That is also a bad sign. So not able to share the earnings of the company. If the earning per share of the company is going down, if the earnings of the company are going down, it is a clear indication that all is not well with the company. The company has some problem and everything is not okay with the company. There is some problem the company is facing. So the company has to immediately start finding out what is the problem that it is not able to pay earning per share. Earning per share, on the other hand, should keep increasing. You have example of companies like Wipro, Infosys, TCS, their earning per share are increasing. The dividend that they are paying is increasing every day, and that is a good sign for the company, indicating the company's revenue are growing and the company is sharing the revenue regularly with the shareholders, and that is what is very important for a company. Another element you have to understand is what if there are fluctuation in the earnings as well as the dividend. Again, it shows the company is not stable. The company is not able to improve its earnings and therefore no dividend is paid or very fluctuating dividend is paid to the company. So I have talked of 3 points here. First point is the company paying dividend? If the company is paying dividend, it means the company is able to save some earnings. There is some earnings which the company is able to save, which it can share with the stakeholders of the company. Second thing is the earning fluctuating? If the earnings of the company are going down, it is an indication that the company is struggling. The company is not able to save enough money and pay dividend to the shareholders. So the EPS should not go down. Another point is what if the dividend is increasing? If the dividend is increasing, it is an indication the company is financially okay. There can also be a situation The earnings are low, but the dividend is still being paid. This is a good sign for the company, because in that case we can understand that the company is probably falling back on its past profits, which have been saved by the company. So there is cash flow in the business. The company is utilizing the past cash flow to pay dividend now. That is a good sign. Now, this is something you can find in companies like TCS and Infosys. They are paying very heavy dividend. Even in years when they are not making good profit, they are paying high dividend simply because they have adequate savings in the company, and they are falling back on those savings in years when they are not able to make more profit. That is earnings. Anybody having any question? I'll just sum up the 3.1 is we are talking of EPS. Second, EPS should not go down. It should improve. It should move northwards. The company's EPS should increase. There is a possibility that the earnings of the company are declining. If the earnings are declining, it is not a good sign for the company. So therefore, there should be a steady growth in the earnings. If there is a steady growth in the earning, the signs are positive. It shows, yes, the company is. Yeah, there is one question in this example. Isn't the case that the company is depleting its reserve? No, it's not depleting its reserves. It is in fact using its cash flow. Whatever cash reserves they have, whatever cash flow they had in the business, they are using that cash flow. So it is an indication of cash flow being used. And this is okay. If the company is using its cash flow, it is a good sign for the company. The only point we need to keep in mind is the EPS of the company should rise steadily. Gradually, we should have a situation where the EPS of the company is rising.
Actually, none of us are speaking.
Sir, can you hear us
Mr.
now?
Uma Shankar is talking. No, Rupali ma'am, I'm not able to hear anything.
Okay, sir.
Can you hear me or not? Okay, as far as I am audible, we can continue. So EPS is a very important factor that we should all keep in mind. And EPL will depend on the earnings of the company. Then we have the next point, which is the debt of the company. This is a first point which can be a red flag to the company. Debt is the money which we have borrowed from outsiders, from lenders. And please remember, Debt is something that has to be repaid back. If we are not able to repay back, the company over a period of time becomes insolvent. I can give you the example of companies like Diwan Housing Finance, DHFL as we all know it. That company was not able to repay back its money. And because it was not able to repay back its money, it became insolvent. Today we have a situation of a company by the name Reliance Capital, which has borrowed a lot of money but is not able to repay that money back. That is a situation which is bad for the company, because over the period of time the company will become insolvent. So this is a situation that can happen if the company has a lot of debt. So where the company has a lot of debt which it is not able to pay back, or it cannot even pay the interest on the debt, that is a very dangerous situation. It's a sign that things are not going good for the company. The company is actually struggling. This is a situation that we need to avoid over a period of time. What is the reason why this is happening? This is happening because the company has borrowed too much money and the company is not able to earn adequate. Because the earnings of the company are inadequate, it is not able to pay back the amount. Whatever money they have borrowed, that money is not being paid back. So earnings are not adequate, and because there are no earnings, the company is facing a situation where it cannot meet the cost on debt. So the company is not able to pay the cost on the debt. Since it cannot pay the cost on the debt, it is struggling. And why it is not able to pay the cost? So see, everything is correlated. I'll just show you. It is debt, debt is excessive. This is one problem. It is accompanied by low earnings, and because debt is high and earnings are low, cost is not paid regularly, and because the cost is not paid regularly, the company is on the brink of insolvency. Insolvency, and this company ultimately closes down. Over a period of time, it will cease to exist because the company has borrowed excessively. Most of the companies which are facing insolvency today, it is because it is because it is because they are not earning adequate. How do we understand that the company is going into a debt trap? A company is walking into a debt trap when the debt equity ratio is bad. Debt equity ratio simply means what is the ratio between equity of the company and debt of the company. So the debt equity ratio of the company is bad, and because the debt equity ratio is bad, the company is gradually moving into a debt trap. Any questions, colleagues? So at regular interval, we should try and calculate the debt equity ratio. Whenever in doubt, this ratio needs to be calculated. And the only point is equity and debt should be in the ratio of 1:1. If the ratio is 1:1, it is manageable. But if the ratio becomes higher for debt, then it becomes like say it is 1.5:1. This is a bad ratio because it indicates your debt is more than the equity. So where the debt becomes more than the equity, the company will have problems. Yeah, this can be a warning sign for the stakeholders or the independent directors to look at the company's financial health. So the company should immediately think of repaying his debt. Whatever money they have borrowed, that should be repaid. And repayment is the only way you can make sure that the company becomes healthy again. So the role of equity is very important. But companies, because they find that they are getting debt very easily, they keep on borrowing money. The situation that we are facing today is where banks are flushed with funds. So they are willing to lend. And there are companies which are ready to borrow. They feel पैसा मिल रहा है तो ले लो. They don't think that they'll have to repay back the money in future. They are thinking money is coming, take it. So that should not be the case in the company. The company should not borrow money because it is available. They should borrow money when they need the money. If they can put the money to easy use, the deployment of the money is possible, only then they should borrow money, otherwise they should not. When they are borrowing money, they should also keep in mind, will we be able to repay back the money? If they feel yes, we will be able to repay back the money, then it is okay. In all these, the earnings of the company are important. They are crucial. If the earnings are inadequate, then the company should not think of borrowing money. Instead of borrowing money, go to the shareholder and ask them, we need more money. Are you ready to give money to us? If the shareholders say no, if they say yes, they have faith in the company. If they say no, there is lack of faith in the company. So you should not have a situation where the shareholders are not able to invest more in the company. If the shareholders are not able to invest more in the company, it is an indication that there is something wrong with the company. So we may be facing a situation where the company is going into a situation of cash burn. So company has cash which it is burning. It is not utilizing. So when your monthly revenue minus the cost of goods sold, that is your earnings. Monthly revenue minus cost of goods sold expenses is your earnings. If your earnings is not leaving you with, and whatever earnings you have, if you are able to repay back the earnings regularly, then it is okay. You are repaying, you are using your earning to repay back your debt. That is okay. But if you don't have money left to repay back your debt, it is an indication the company's financial health is not good. The industry or the sector, how does that affect the financial health of the company? If you are in the sunrise sector, then the financial health of the company can be good. If you are in a sunset sector, then the financial health can be bad. Sunrise sector is a sector where the business is growing phenomenally. And sunset is a sector where the growth of the business is stagnating, where there is no growth in the business. So you should not stagnate. If you are stagnating, then there is problem with the business. So these are basically the core points which we have to understand when we talk of financial health of a company. Now, financial health, if the health is poor, it obviously affects the value of the company also. Value gets affected if financial health is poor. So ultimately, financial health of the company is bad. It will impact the value of the company. So you have to also understand that financial health will impact the value of the company. Have you ever heard that Infosys is in bad shape, the value of the company is falling? You will never hear that because financially the company is very sound. Same is the case with TCS. Same is the case with companies like L&T. They are financially very sound, so their value is always going up. You have the situation of Reliance Industries. The value of the company is always growing, it's increasing. It is increasing because the company is financially very healthy. So that is why there is no situation. Recently, if you remember, there was a very major event that took place in Reliance Industries. And that event was the company went in for demerger. The demerger was of Geo. The company decided to demerge the company. Why they wanted to do that? Because they wanted to increase the value of the company. When they demerged the company, the value increased. This is an example that you can always keep in mind, that the company went in for demerger. So Reliance Industry had a subsidiary by the name Geo. So what they did was they demerged Geo. And when they demerged Geo, the situation changed. Now please understand, when Geo was a part of Reliance, the value of Geo was around 5,800. This was the value of Geo, 5,800 crores. After demerger, the value of the company became the value became 10,000 crores, which obviously shows that demerger can also help. There is another example. IT has a division, ITC, which is Indian Tobacco Company, has a division which is hotel business. Now ITC thought that let us demerge hotel from the parent. When they were planning to do this, the calculation or the estimates showed it will not add value to the hotel business. It will not add value to the hotel business after demerger. So the company has presently stalled the process because the hotel business is not giving them good returns. Their property is very huge. They have good property. Real estate is very good. But the overall value of the business is not very good. The hotel business is not doing well. So therefore they are stalling their business. There is another company which is now planning to go in for demerger, which is the Vedanta Group. Now in Vedanta Group, it will add value. Vedanta's situation would be more or less like Reliance. It will not be like ITC. So I've given you three examples. One is Reliance, which has added a lot of value. ITC is not able to add value, so they have stalled the process for the time being. And then there is another company by the name Vedanta. Vedanta will really add value to its business, so they are planning to go ahead with the demerger. So kindly remember, whenever we are talking of financial health, there are four elements which you have to remember. One is earnings. Second is debt of the company, the equity of the company, and what is the cash flow. These four factors are important. So you should remember debt, equity, earnings, and cash flow. These are four factors that will give you idea about the health of the company. If arithmetically these four elements are not good enough, that means the company is not in a good shape. It is a red, it should be taken as a red flag, and you should start taking corrective action so that the company's financial health can become good again. It does not mean that if these situations are, if these four elements are bad, the company cannot revive. It can be revived. So what you have to do is you have to take care of four elements. I have listed them here. Spend your money more profitably. Save your money. Whatever profits you are earning, keep it aside in the form of cash reserves. Not reserves alone, cash reserves. You should borrow money. Borrowing money, please remember I told you don't borrow money because it is easily available. You should borrow money when you can deploy the money more profitably into the business, and keep on planning your activities very well. Do you need to change your capital structure? If yes, change the capital structure. Don't hesitate changing the capital structure, because if the capital structure is not good, the company will be doomed. The company will go into insolvency. Any questions? There is one question, which is what are the emerging trends that are changing the way we evaluate the financial health of the company? Well, my thinking is still ratios are critical. Ratios are critical. I will tell you, you take current ratio, debt equity ratio, you can also talk of capital gearing ratio. capital gearing ratio is more or less debt equity ratio only. It is similar to the debt equity ratio. And one more ratio where I will focus a lot is the acid test ratio. Acid test ratio. These are ratios which are very important. So we find today, if you can calculate these ratios, you will come to know what is the financial health of the company, and accordingly you can take other steps. Other steps like demerger or separating the two companies, that will depend on how these ratios are getting reflected in the accounts of the company. So if the financial statement of the company is showing these ratios are healthy, then you can go ahead with your subsequent decision. Any other question?
Only I think then
Yeah, these factors that you're talking of, interest rate and inflation, they will impact the earnings of the company. So they have the potential to impact the earnings. And if the earnings are impacted, obviously you will have very little to declare as dividend. Your EPS may go down. That can be the impact of interest. But one thing, friends, I am, very positive as far as India is concerned. I am very positive. We may have small problems here and there, but I am very positive as far as India is concerned. See, the interest rate in India is very low. That is a very good point. Inflation is only a temporary phenomenon. You may all be worried about inflation, but I am not worried because the inflation that is high in India is food inflation. And that is because of seasonal factors. There is no other reason. Once things become normal, once the seasonal things come under control, then India will again have low inflation. So today you might be worried about inflation, but I am not worried. Very hopeful of the economy. The economy is doing good and it will do better in future. See, what you can look at is the stock market of the country. The stock market is doing good. So things are sound. That is what you should understand. So external factors do impact, but they impact the earnings of the company. They don't have a long run impact. They have a short run impact and we can tide them over a period of time. Any other question? Rupali ma'am, my apology because the system wasn't working well. the sound was the problem, and therefore we had to take the help of the chat box. Otherwise, we could have had more interaction. There are no more questions.
Yeah.
I'll share my email ID with you. If you want to have any other discussion with me, you can email me on this email ID. I will reply back to you.
Rupali, can we conclude?
Yes, sir.
This
Yes,
is
Manoj.
my email ID.
We
You
can.
can write your queries to me. I will answer your queries. I generally check my mail twice a day, once in the morning and once in the evening. So I will give you a reply as soon as I check the mail.
Okay. So I think that technique is not able to explain.
I hope the session was useful.
Yes, speaker.
You shouldn't have a feeling that at the end of the day it was waste of time.
Yes, sir. And
Because
thanks for
finance is a
attending.
very huge field. It's a very big field, and therefore having it curtailed in a 45 minutes, 1 hour session is not possible. It requires a continuous learning.
Everyone for joining and attended the session. Even it was a difficulty, but definitely take care of this.
Yes, whenever possible, you can tell me, I can join.
Okay,
Not an
sir.
issue, because now I'm a retired person, so I can join. I have tasks. I have the task of content writing and research, but that is a task that requires only 2 hours a day. So rest of the time I'm free, so we can interact more frequently.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir, and thank you everyone for joining the call. And we have lots of things no coming up for our members. So we'll keep you posted and be with us. Thank you for joining us today. Bye,
Rupali ma'am,
everyone.
you can share the PPT with our friends.
Okay, sir. Okay,
Yeah.
fine, sir. Yes, I'll do that.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.